Hey there, I wanted to talk about how I teach my players to perfect their aim when they're hitting. So, when we're in pepper, we just want to hit it to each other, right here. And we want to aim for the other person's pocket. That's what I like to call the pocket. So if you were imagining someone's in a dig ready position right here, we want to aim towards them where they have to make the least amount of movement to dig the ball. So we aim right for their pocket, which is right here. Or if we don't want to put our platform out, this is what we're aiming for right here. And so what's important that we do when we're peppering and working on this, the most important thing is right here. Toss the ball up, hit it, and then we hold our hand and our finger at the target that we're aiming for, and we hold it there for like a second or two after we hit. So it's as easy as that. We hit to our partner and we hold. Hit to our partner and hold. And look at where your hand ends in relation to where the ball went. And that's going to help calibrate your aim. And I said this about setting in another video. When we're setting, we want to hold our follow through in our set and look at where our hands and fingers are pointing, and then calibrate that with where the ball went. This is our aiming right here. Where our fingers and hands end, that's where we're aiming. It's the same with hitting. Where my fingers and hands end, that's where I'm aiming. So just remember to hold. After you hit, hold. Hold for 1 or 2 seconds. And so while we're on the topic, I want to talk about why people hit it out of bounds or why they hit it into the net. We're hitting it out of bounds because the finish on our arm swing is ending too high, and we need to follow through more down to the court, right? Well, this usually happens when someone takes their approach and they're a little bit too forward. Their body is a little bit too forward of where they should be, and they're kind of reaching. And because they're reaching, and because they don't have time, and because they're a little bit more forward than they should be, they can't finish down towards the court. They more finish like here, right? And that's why the ball goes out of bounds. So if we're hitting it out of bounds a lot, we might be getting a little bit ahead of the ball in our approach and jump, and we're not finishing down to the court. And so, but what about when we hit into the net? So I would say when we hit into the net, we're a little bit behind the ball than we should be. So we need to be a little bit more forward if we're hitting it into the net. If we're hitting it out of bounds, we need to be a little bit more back. So if we're hitting it into the net, we're probably a little bit behind the ball, and where we're finishing, instead of finishing like high and over the net like that, they're behind the ball and they finish right into the net. And so you got to be conscious of how perfect your approach is. And usually it's not. So you need to regulate that as you're going through your play. You got to know if you're ahead of the ball. If you're ahead of the ball, you want to take a roll shot with a lot of wrist and finish into the court. I would say another reason people hit into the net, a lot of times people have a perfect approach and then they hit into the net. It's because while they're in the air, they're hitting it just a tad bit late, and they think they have their perfect approach, and they do, and they get really excited to hit, but when they're in the air, they're letting the ball drop like a half a second or maybe a quarter of a second. They're letting that ball drop like a quarter second, half a second more than it should be dropping, and then they're going for that perfect hit they want. And that's another reason why we hit it into the net, is because as we're up in the air hitting, we are we are just a tad bit late on the ball. All right, hope you enjoyed it.